Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Apples and Genos Fantasy Hockey Podcast. My name is Nate Niblick. I'm the creator of Apples and Genos, originator of the Zero G Draft Strategy. In this podcast, Blake and I are going to talk about the biggest ROSS COLTONs and have ROSS COLTONs of the last couple of weeks. Let's get it. And of course, I have your friend and my best friend, the man I love most in this world after ROSS COLTON. It's Blake Creamer. Blake, how are we feeling tonight?
Well, not as good as you, apparently. Damn, Nate, next time you're going to do that, can you just give me a little bit of a heads up, all right? My ears, yeah, there's a ringing now. I can't hear certain frequencies out of my right ear. Damn. All right, but it's totally worth it, buddy, because our boy, your boy, Ross Cameo Colton. Oh, God, he's popping the hell off. 5 goals in 3 games. Did anybody see this coming, Nate?
Yeah, actually, I would say that I did see this coming a little bit. I have said some things about ROSS COLTON in the past, and they're coming true a little bit right now. So I'm giving myself leeway to feel some type of way about this ongoing situation. The one thing that's holding me back from just going absolutely nuclear is the fact that I'm against ROSS COLTON in my closest matchup right now, and I might actually just lose because ROSS COLTON is so good, and that would just be truly poetic.
Is that irony? I mean, yeah, the very player that you touted so highly is about to be the one that causes your demise. I don't know. That sounds poetic. Yeah, like you said, if you say it that way. I don't know. I'm here for it. Buddy almost got a Hattie. This is insane.
Yeah, well, there's still game left as we're recording this, so we might have even more opportunity to go nuts a little later on. But for the moment, we better get to biz. We better get into some newsies. Starting off here, we've got Joel Eriksson-Ek returning from injury for Saturday's game. But then Ryan Hartman decided that he had to miss with an upper body injury, so they're still down a center in Minnesota. It does seem like Hartman was still skating on Saturday, so it seems like only day-to-day, nothing too serious there, but either way, something to monitor. Caden Gooley, the injury we talked about in the last show, held him out of Saturday's game. It's not considered to be long-term, is the update there, so we should have him back in lineups and Bangers Cats lineups specifically sooner rather than later. Pavel Minchikov held out Sunday here with food poisoning, but likely should be back and good to go for Tuesday's NHL extravaganza. Also talking here about Celebrini. He's skated, but still considered week to week. Still, good sign. You want to see them back on the ice and working his way toward recovery there. Tristan Jarry was a healthy scratch in the game against Winnipeg today. Nedeljkovic, coming back from his injury, had an AHL start and then got the start right away on Sunday. Got kind of pumped by the Jets. Blomqvist obviously still there as well. This is not good for Jarry rosters by any stretch, but yeah, maybe Nedeljkovic gets some run. If Nedeljkovic had had a great game here, then I would have been like all on board with Nedeljkovic, right? But considering that it didn't go so well, I don't know, Blake, what are you thinking about it?
Yeah, I mean, it's still obviously concerning. Like Jarry has the tenure, he's got the contract, he got the term, but yeah, I mean, the fact that they left Blomqvist up there and they scratched Jarry, that's a bit strange. So yeah, just something to monitor. I think Ned is a really good option. Like you said, though, I mean, we need to see a good performance. He kind of got thrown to the wolves here against the Jets.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see who the next start is there. I think that should probably be a little bit telling about their immediate plans for sure. Michael Bunting also a healthy scratch for the Penguins here today on Sunday. Mike Sullivan said, quote, "Our expectation is higher." That's not what we wanted to hear for Michael Bunting, a player that we are actually considering would probably get power play 1 there. That obviously has not come true, but Chris Letang, who we've always been a big fan of, has been getting that power play spot, and so we are okay with that.
Bittersweet.
Bittersweet, yeah, fair enough. But yeah, either way, I think you can't roster Bunting if he's got the potential to be healthy scratched at the moment. I don't know if you feel differently, Blake, but that's how I'm feeling. I'm just not comfortable rostering anybody who could be out of the lineup on any given night.
No, hell no. Drop him like it's lukewarm. All right. Get the hell out of my sight. The bunt cake. Who goes to a restaurant and you're like, you know what? I'll have a slice of that bunt cake. All right. It's calling to me. I saw it in the window. I want me some bunt and I want it right now. Punt the bunt. All right.
All right. JT Miller also battling injury. Looks like he only took 2 face-offs against the Flyers on Saturday, so maybe hand wrist. We've seen that in the past with some centers. They don't want to be jamming their hands and wrists if they got something going on there. Could miss Tuesday's game. Definitely one to watch there. Anthony Duclair was injured in the Islanders' last game. No update provided. It seemed like he twisted his left leg trying to get a shot off. Yeah, whenever you see something that's non-contact, that's never something that you. I mean, we don't want to speculate about
Yep.
what the injury could be, but it's never a good sign in that case. And obviously, it would, if he were to miss any time, it would leave an interesting replacement spot there. Top line, top power play. Who might that be? Do you think your boy Siplikov might get a look on the top line there, Blake?
Well, potentially. That'd be interesting, actually. I wasn't going that way. I thought they'd maybe bring up like Anders Lee or I don't know.
Sure.
JGP spent some time on that line. I don't know how they worked it though, because he's a center, but he moved up there with Duclair out. But yeah, I'm not sure what they're going to do, but it should equal some consistency at least, maybe for Sipakov on power play 1. That's what I'm hoping for. And that drywall crusher, Kyle Palmieri.
All right. Linus Ullmark nearing full health. Should be ready for the game Tuesday, we would think. Mad Sogard has been sent down, so you would think that would clear the way for Ullmark's return there. Darcy Kemper was put on IR, but that's retroactive, so he'll miss one more game here Sunday, but trending to play on Tuesday most likely. And Devontae's also on IR retroactive. Didn't play Sunday here, but will travel with the team. Hope to play on Tuesday. All right, we've made it through the newsies. What do you say, Blake? Should we get straight into it?
I'm ready to go, man. I'm raring to go. Who's hot? Who's not? These are the questions that our listeners want, and we got the answers.
Well, I can tell you who's hot. It's Ross Colton.
Oh, there we go. Great
Yeah.
picture of him too on YouTube if you want to check that out.
Yes, it's
You
a
couldn't find a
terrific picture.
yeah. What is this? I mean, I thought you had some limited edition Ross Colton prints. You could have just scanned it and put it in, and this is what you put here. Looks like Ross Colton's licking his hockey stick. I don't know what's happening.
I was gonna go there with the joke, but I think I'll leave that to the viewer's
Yeah.
imagination as
Don't
to what Ross Colton pictures I may or may not have on my PC here.
okay.
Ross Colton, obviously, like, what can you say at this point? He's obviously in a terrific spot for fantasy production, one of the best. We've seen it happen for guys like Arturi Lehkonen, Valerie Nichushkin. Yeah, at this point, Blake, I think the bigger question is what happens when the other guys do come back? Does Colton get bumped off? Does Middlestat get bumped off? Do both of those guys stay just because it's working? And Lehkonen and Nichushkin and potentially Landeskog as well down the line? Do they all just have to fight for the scraps because Ross Colton is just that good?
I don't know. It's an interesting conundrum, that's for sure. It's an enigma wrapped in a riddle, and we need to find out what's going on. But I mean, Ross Colton's certainly making his case, isn't he? 5 goals in 3 games, and he looks good out there. It's not like he's just relying on the other guys to sort of do stuff for him. Like we've detailed, for years now, just what this man brings to the table on a per minute basis, and now he's actually doing that in like 20 minutes a night, which is incredible. So I feel like Middlestat is the guy that might get bumped if Colton is somehow able to keep this going. Like we're looking at 3 games now. It's still small sample size. He might just be, he's on a hot streak and then he fizzles away. They obviously Jared Bednar has a better idea of what's going on there, like a pulse on the team, but yeah, Colton looks pretty damn good. He's filling that Valerie Nichushkin spot out in the power play here. Like, and what I mean by that, I don't like he's just firing away, right? And he's obviously hitting the net with good accuracy. So I'm loving it. I think maybe at this point, Middlestat is the one that maybe gets bumped down if Drouin comes back, and then Colton on the top line. I don't know. I think they might keep him there too. But I don't know. Where are you at with this? Like, what do you think is going to happen, Nate?
Yeah, the only thing there is that they've been using Middlestat on the faceoffs, or at least splitting it from what I saw, at least in the game here that I was able to watch before we got started, kind of looking over my shoulder back there. did seem like Middlestat was taking the left-hand side face-offs and McKinnon was taking the right-hand side, so maybe they like that, and that could be a reason to keep Middlestat on. But either way, um, I think that they're going to have a real decision to make here. And honestly, I don't know that there's a decision to make yet. Like, you just hold Colton until it doesn't happen anymore, right? Like, there's nothing else that you can say. I guess you could try to trade for him or trade him high if people in your league are exorbitantly high on Ross Colton and think he's going to win the Rocket Richard Trophy now. Like, yeah, okay, then I would move off of him. But obviously, it's going to be pretty tough to talk me into moving away from Ross Colton. We should talk about your guy, though, Evgeny Malkin. You were talking about how Evgeny Malkin's ADP made no sense, and I directly quote Blake Creamer here in the offseason. Talk to me about Malkin. Do you think this is just expected? The 9 points in the last 5 games that he's put up here, 19 minutes a night, good stuff. What do you expect from Malkin rest of season?
Not this. I think that's pretty standard there. Like, this guy's on 129 point pace. No. Okay. But I still maintain it made no sense. And that's a fact, right? Like, I got this guy in one of my leagues. I've got him in 4 leagues first off, and I got him after 200 in a couple of those spots. That's insane. Like, this is always like a 60-point floor guy because of his, access to the power play there. He's already got 4 power play points. Pretty nice. I think this guy's not done yet. He's not done. Like, he's got some decent line mates. The power play in Pittsburgh, that was the big thing for me. I really didn't think it was going to be as bad as it was last year, and it hasn't been so far. Like, we've seen some better things here. I like Letang on that first unit there. I think it gives him a different look. So yeah, I mean, temper expectations. This is a sell high for sure. Malkin's not going to be doing this all year, right? I mean, you look at his metrics, you can talk about that, but like, the on ice numbers are great because Pittsburgh's been generating a lot of chances, Malkin's line in particular, but I don't know. He's not really shooting very much. He's kind of just getting a lot done on the power play there. And yeah, it's a nice story, but I don't expect it to continue. I do like him for 70 though. Like, if he can kind of just keep up this deployment, keep up this pace, I think 70 is in the wheelhouse.
Yep. Yeah, I tend to agree there. I'll note like 197th in shots per 60, 155th in individual scoring chances for per 60. He's definitely not at this stage in his career a big time shot producer. He hasn't scored that many goals, right? Only 2 of those 9 points are goals in the last 5 games here. But the on ice numbers are really good. 25th in Corsi 4 per 60, 16th in scoring chances 4 per 60. So that's really nice. Obviously, Crosby draws the tough matchup every single time, and then Malkin is absolutely feasting at the moment. You have to wonder, Malkin's always been one of those guys who's been nicked up seemingly every season with something or other, misses a few games here or there. You got to wonder, maybe he's just like actually healthy right now
Yeah.
and he's just crushing a little bit. Obviously, all the metrics are really high, and so yeah, I agreed that 129 point pace is a little excessive, but at the same time, yeah, if I had to redo my projections, I think I would bake in a few more points here. So definitely a little bit higher on Malkin than when I started the season. Let's kick it over to a trio of superstars who have been crushing things as of late. You got Artemi Panarin, who has 6 goals and 12 points in his last 5 games here. You got Sam Reinhart, 4 goals, 10 points in his last 5. And Kucherov, who's only got 4 games under his belt, but has 7 goals, leading the NHL and 9 points there. Pick out one of these guys here, Blake. Who's standing out to you? Is there anything underlying here that's really standing out to you? What do you think about what these guys have brought to the table in the early going?
I mean, they're all great, right? Like, the 2 of them are first rounders, right? I love to see Panarin continuing off where he left last year. That's a really interesting piece because obviously the shots were the concerns. Like, okay, yeah, he did that for an 82 game season, so it's not crazy. Like, he shot 3.7 shots per game in 82 games. That's the highest of his career. Well, he's at 3.2 right now in 5 games. He's still doing the thing. It's crazy, and he's getting major minutes there. So Laviolette has been an amazing coach for Panarin. I think he's unlocked another level to Panarin, and obviously Lafreniere and Trocheck together, that line's cooking, and we know what Kucherov does, but it's the Sex Panther for me, buddy. This guy is incredible. That team's decimated. Like, their 2 best players are injured. I guess you can make the argument that Kachuk is maybe in their top two players. The way that Reinhardt's been playing here, like this guy is put the team on his back. He's amazing defensively. He doesn't get enough credit for that. Big time minutes. He's just all over the ice, making everybody better. I'm such a big fan of Sam Reinhardt, and I think the goals will regress, but does he get 90 points? He could get 90 points. I just think, that obviously that shooting percentage was a bit rough, but, as I say that, he had 24.5 last year. He's shooting at 26.3 right now. Who's crazy? I don't know. We shouldn't be doubting the Sex Panther. He's made with real bits of Panther.
Yeah, it's hard to really be down on him at this point for sure. The underlying stats are not so kind. He's been getting it done with efficiency once again here. 146 shots per 60, 273rd individual scoring chances for per 60. But that being said, like it's a really good sign that he's able to do this with Barkov out and just be efficient and get there on efficiency. And then when Barkov's back, you obviously expect the volume of chances to climb way back up, and Reinhardt should benefit from that. So really good stuff there. Kucherov, I just want to highlight just because the thing that's really sticking out to me right now, fourth in shots per 60, sixth in individual scoring chances for per 60. Kucherov is absolutely blasting the puck right now. That was kind of the thesis. I mentioned that I took him at plus 5,000 to win the Rocket Richard this year. And clearly that's going to happen just because of
I'm
this
here for
incredible
this.
start.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like he's got 15 shots per 60 and 15 individual scoring chances for per 60. 4 games, obviously, tiny sample size here.
Totally sustainable.
Totally sustainable. But interesting to see. In the early going, at least, it really does seem like he's got much more of an emphasis of shooting the puck. And I'll be curious to see if that continues even to a lesser extent throughout the entire year. Let's move along and talk about one of our favorites, Jared McCann. Here, 3 goals, 8 points in his last 5, averaging just over 16 and a quarter minutes a night. 173rd in shots per 60, 322nd individual scoring chances for per 60. The on ice numbers in between those two numbers there. So he's really been getting it done on efficiency, and the extra ice time that we had really hoped that Dan Bilesma might bring to Jared McCann has definitely not come through so far. But I mean, you look up and the guy's on a 109-point pace to start the season. That'll play, I think, Blake.
Yeah, definitely will play. That'll flip and play. But I hate players that are based on efficiency, especially like a guy like this who really is a 70-point player, with the right deployment, in my opinion. And he's not getting the right deployment now. He's getting less ice time than he got last year. And granted, it's only been 6 games, but it's tough. He has he had 2 big games there, a 2-point outing against Nashville and then a 3-point outing against Philly. It's tenuous to me. Like, obviously I'm excited and I love the player, but I am surprised with the deployment so far. And that's, even the metrics aren't like blowing the doors down with Jared McCann there. 173rd in shots on goal per 60, 322nd in individual scoring chances for. That's not great. So, I mean, player based on efficiency, it's the age-old tale here. Like, what happens when those pucks stop going in? All right, now we're looking at a player that doesn't shoot very much, doesn't generate very many chances at all, and now all of a sudden he's not scoring. So we need to get that ice time up. One thing I am happy about, he's getting the full power play treatment, well over 3 minutes power play time on ice, average in 6 games here. So hopefully that keeps up, and that should keep his floor reasonably solid.
Yeah, and I do think that it's kind of been so efficient that he probably hasn't needed to take as many shots. Sometimes you get those shifts where you get multiple chances, multiple shots, and that probably hasn't been there just because every puck's been going in for him in the last little bit. I definitely just think that Jared McCann is really talented. I do think he can be efficient enough so that he's going to stay on your team all year, but really to take that next level that we were hoping for, he will need more deployment. So it's unfortunate in the early going, but I'm holding out a little bit of hope that over the course of time, Dan Bilesma may see the light with Jared McCann and give him that 18 minutes. Moving on, we have to talk apparently about Cole Kopke from the Boston Bruins, who has 3 goals, 6 points in his last 5 games, despite skating just over 11 minutes a night. 18th in shots per 60 in these 5 games is Cole Kopke. So tell me, Blake, do we have to take notice of this player?
I mean, it's a data point. It's something that, yeah, we should take notice. We got a per minute guy here who's doing really well. But, those minutes equal 12 minutes 31 seconds in his last game against Utah. That show ain't no good. Okay, we need more than that, Mr. Kopke. All right. Officer Kopke, F you. Oh, isn't that a song or something? I don't know. It's
I've never heard such a thing.
isn't it Officer Krupke, Kopke? I don't know. Somebody hit me up in the chat. Hit me up somewhere. Let me know what's going on here. Anyways, yeah, this whole thing, like who's he playing with? What's that guy's name? Oh, Mark Kastelik, or Kastelich, or however you say his name. Like, what are these guys doing? This is like the Paul Cotter situation in New Jersey, right? It's like, okay, thank you for the production, but I'm gonna waste an ad going to get Cole Kopke. I can't do it, right? But it is nice. He's on an 82-point pace. Good for this kid. I mean, he was a 6th rounder, 183rd overall. I mean, welcome to the show, my man. You're showing out. Your parents are proud. No question about it.
So I had to look it up. Officer Krupke is a song from the musical West Side Story. Um, there's some interesting lyrics in that one, but that is
Why
that
don't you
is a
sing
deep
us a little
cut there.
ditty? Sing us a little ditty, Nate. You got
Yeah, I
something?
don't
No,
know West Side
no,
Story
yeah. Okay,
well
all right.
enough
What's that? What's
personally.
that Spanish song? Tell me in a West Side Story. Is it Santana?
That was perfect.
Is
Yeah,
that the one with Robert Thomas? No. Anyways, that's a whole other pod. We'll talk about Robert Thomas later on. All right. Oh, here's the same exact emotion when you. Okay, Nate, keep going. You're supposed to interrupt me there. Take over. It's good podcast or bad podcast. That's what we're doing here. You get, that's how we're getting.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yes, after the West Side Story segue there, let's continue on to talk about a couple of Washington Capitals, Dylan Strome and Tom Wilson. These two guys definitely got the biz there on Saturday
Oh,
night.
baby.
But on the season now, you got Dylan Strome, 4 games, 3 goals, 7 points. You got Tom Wilson with 5 goals in 4 games, 6 total points there. Underlying numbers looking pretty good. Dylan Strome, not a big time shooter, 168th in shots per 60, but Tom Wilson's up there at 78th, 60th in individual scoring chances, 4 per 60. Tell me what you're thinking here, Blake. Is there something in the water there?
I don't know. Did Washington learn how to score goals finally? Is Ovechkin like through osmosis just like, getting some scoring touch with these players here? Maybe. That's a reach. I'm sorry about that, folks. But yeah, Dylan Strome, I don't ever doubt this man anymore. I mean, he's looking good. This guy is, never really looks good under the hood, but he's certainly a good point producer, and he's getting the deployment right. Yeah, he did have one game in there against Dallas where he only played 15 minutes, 15 and a half minutes, but the other games all looking good. Just over 19 in the last one, 3 points against Jersey. I love that. So yeah, Strome, I'm in on this. The guy should be rostered, and then Tom Wilson. Where's Wilson? Oh, Wilson. I'm sorry, Wilson. Oh, his head kind of looks like a beach ball with a big beard. I guess Wilson was a volleyball. I'm wrecking everything here. That's fine.
Yes, from Castaway. I knew that
Yeah.
reference.
Okay. All right.
I got that reference.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good. We're together on this. I feel closer to you than I ever have before. And we've crossed the streams many times. We know this. But anyways, Tom Wilson, yeah, I love this. And plus he added 7 hits the other night too. Just a mega beefer game. Awesome. He's doing exactly what you drafted him for. I don't know about Wilson in points leagues. Like I think you have to with this kind of production, right? You feel pretty good about it. 2 goals, and 1 assist. Very good deployment. Any banger waiting, like he's got to be on a team. So power play 1 as well. God, I think the big question is Wilson on a points league. What are you doing with him there?
Yeah, if you got any kind of banger waiting, like obviously becomes instantly way more viable. I had like a pretty decent little projection on Tom Wilson. I think I might have been the highest of the 3 of us here at Apples and Ginos. I had him for 28 goals and 51 points, almost 200 shots, well over 200 hits. Obviously blocks too. That's actually an underrated component of his game as well. So if you got decent points weight for blocks, he does that. I had him at 2.5 minutes average time on ice on the power play. That seems like a good bet to hit at this point with the early returns there. So yeah, I'm kind of feeling a little bit vindicated, honestly, on my original Tom Wilson take. Obviously, I don't think he's going to keep up some like goal per game pace or something like that, but yeah, I do think that Tom Wilson is a threat to score 25 to 30 goals, 50 to 55 points. and stick in your lineup even in a points league. If you got any banger waiting at all, I think you get that floor, and then you're actually probably in a spot here where you could return some decent points value.
Jeez, just a banner day at the Nate Groot Nibbling house here today. Oh, wow. Tom Wilson as well. Tom Wilson, Ross Colton. That's the super duo right there that Nate's been dreaming about his whole life.
Tom Wilson is an objectively attractive man. Can we just
Yeah.
agree on that?
Okay. I will agree on that. He does have a face like a volleyball. We've discussed this, but I find volleyballs attractive. So I don't
All
know.
right.
I'm going to put that together. That's fine.
With yet another flawless segue, let's talk about Anton Lundell. Four goals, I should say, in 5 games played, 7 points in those 5 games, averaging over 20 minutes a night. Obviously, the Barkov injury creating this much larger role for Lundell here, and he's stepped into it and then some as of late. So, talk to me about Lundell now, Blake. I think pretty obviously when Barkov comes back, it seems like Lundell probably goes back to third line duty. Are you more interested in Lundell and continuing to hold him? Obviously, probably in some deeper leagues or something like that. Are there scenarios in which you're holding Lundell even after Barkov gets back?
I love this for another data point though. Like, with like, this is a player that we've talked about for a long time. And me personally, I've been watching Lundell ever since I saw like 2 years ago, it was Barkov and Lundell doing corner battles. And he was really keeping up with Barkov. And that's something that Barkov's really known for. So this guy's sort of like a mini Barkov without the efficiency and maybe the offensive talent, right? It's kind of
Sure.
capped there, but I love to see it. I mean, he stepped up big time, 7 points in 4 games. Bang. I think, yeah, he's certainly a hold. Like not just a hold, like he's doing stuff out there until Barkov comes back. And then we'll have to see, because before Barkov got injured, he was still getting some reasonable deployment. He had a 20-minute game in there. That might've been the Barkov injury game. I'm not sure, but big time deployment with those guys out. I bet he gets 17 minutes plus when Barkov returns. I think he's kind of showed out here or shown out. And this is up in his ceiling. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a career high this year. His career high is 44 points. I mean, I bet he could go get in around there, like 40, 45 points, 50 maybe if everything goes really well. Like we're still looking at a third line player, big time penalty killer, but he's got to be loving this production. Sometimes when a player gets going like this, like look at Ross Colton too. It's like this player's in there. He has the bones of that player, but he's never had the opportunity and he's never had the success. Like you need a little bit of success and puck luck out on the ice, and he's had that. So maybe we're looking at a different player moving forward, like a guy that's a little bit more confident and now has the coach's trust to maybe be put out in some offensive situations.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. I don't have too much to add except that Anton Lundell, another one of these players that got added against me for this week and is crushing my hopes and dreams in one league. So thanks for that, Anton. Another listener of the show, know that he probably did this all just to spite me, but appreciate that he's making us look good on the take that he would actually be a really good player to roster this past week.
That's all that matters anyway, right?
That's what I'm trying to tell myself anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's move over to Columbus. The top line in Columbus, there's a lot of interest, I think, for everybody at the moment. Chinikov got another goal. He's up to 3 goals, 7 points in his last 5. You got Marchenko, 2 goals, 6 points in his last 5. And you got Monahan, 2 goals, 5 points in his last 5. All of them, you got Marchenko the lowest at just over 19 minutes average time on ice through those 5 games. Monahan up at 20 and a half. You got some pretty interesting underlying stats here. The most interesting number that I'll say for all 3 of them, the Corsi 4 per 60 number, 8th for Marchenko, 12th for Chinikov, 20th for Monahan. That's in big minutes. How excited should we be about the Columbus line 1?
I mean, I'm excited for sure. It sounds stupid, but like the thing exciting me the most is the ice time. Damn. Like in this last game, they're all of those guys are over 21 minutes. Like that's what you want to see for fantasy. Like that can turn a mid-level player into someone that's productive for you. Like just look at a guy like JT Compher, in previous years. Like guy gets a ton of minutes. Yeah, now he's a 50-point player. Well, these guys are better than JT Compher, like a hell of a lot better. Marchenko getting 21 minutes. If that's something that can happen on a regular basis, that's a player I'm very excited about. Chinikov has been great. Fantilli, actually, I know he's not on our list here, but he got 22 minutes the other night. I mean, I know they've got some serious injury issues there in Columbus, as we all know, but I mean, if Everson's going to roll out the top guys for this kind of deployment, I'm into all of them, really. Like, how would you rank these guys? Chinikov, Marchenko, and Monahan. How are you ranking them there?
Yeah, I think I'd have to take Chinikov first at the moment. A little bit better with the individual numbers there. And also, like, the power play
Oh
unit is
yeah,
on a little bit. I believe they're still split up. I didn't actually check that after the last game, so I should probably double check that before perjuring myself. Yeah, it seems like they moved them around a little bit actually, because you had Monahan and Marchenko
yeah,
together, but then splitting between a Chinikov Sillinger and Sillinger Fantilli. That's a little bit too hard for me to
yeah.
to
Weird.
parse just
Sillinger
off.
getting the 4 minute power play treatment in the last game here.
Yeah, a little bit interesting there. So maybe something to monitor there just to see what the power play units look like moving forward. Either way, yeah, just on pure talent exhibited to date in this season, I guess I would go Chinikov so far with the underlying numbers there. Marchenko has shown more in the past,
Yeah.
but hasn't honestly shown out too well other than the on ice metrics so far. I do think that he can contribute some there, but like this is a guy that had, you remember that first season where he had like, what was
Yep.
it, like 25 goals and like
Yeah.
five
The Cy
assists?
Young. Yeah. The Cy
Yeah.
Young season.
So yeah, interesting anecdote there. I do think Marchenko probably has more to give on the goals side of things. Monahan, I think, is a little bit along for the ride. I think we just know what Monahan is. I don't think he's like some kind of 70+ point player at this point. So I have just more excitement for the other two because there is the possibility of the unknown. Monahan could get to like 60 plus just on the basis of this deployment potentially, but the other guys have the added excitement of the unknown, and so I'd take them above Monahan personally. Let's move over to Ottawa, where a little bit of a top three is emerging there. You got Jake Sanderson, Brady Kachuk, and Tim Stutzla, all with 7 points in their last 5 games, all getting obviously big minutes, doing lots with it. Sanderson never looks terrific on the underlying numbers, and Stutzla is basically not shooting 317th in shots per 60. Brady obviously is. He always does, 14th in shots per 60 there. Tell me about what you're thinking about Ottawa. Obviously, they had that crazy game there
Yeah.
against LA to start the week, but they've also, yeah, just kind of managed to maintain some decent scoring as of late.
Yeah, I mean, this is clearly not. They know how to do offense, right? I mean, that game against LA is going to boost everybody's numbers. Like Brady had
Sure.
3 points in that game. I mean, I don't know what Stutz had. Stutz had three. Sanderson had a bunch. Like it's crazy stuff. So they're a bit blown up because of that, but still. I've always liked the offense in Ottawa. It's the defense that's been the problem. And then, 3/4 of the way through the year, they're so bad, like they just kind of throw in the towel and they kind of, submarine some of your seasons. But yeah, of these guys, obviously we like Brady. I haven't seen enough. Like I thought he would kind of come out like shot out of a cannon this year.
Hmm.
Because his brother won the Stanley Cup, and it just hasn't been the case. It's been a little bit muted, Brady. You know what I mean? It just has like he's made some plays too, some real bonehead plays that I've seen where it's like it's just not something that a really engaged player would do. So
Okay.
I haven't been super impressed there. Obviously, I like Timmy Stutz for what he brings to the table, kind of in the offense generation category, right? But yeah, he's not shooting. He's not getting chances himself. That's fine. He's got somebody else to do that for him, Nate. All right. But I'm really stoked on Mr. Sanderson. He's eating the sandwich. This guy's great. This guy's a slam dunk this year. It was him and Shabbat that we were looking at. There was a little bit of, talk on that. Oh, maybe Shabbat gets power play one. No, this guy's getting the full power play treatment. He's crushing out there. He's a block monster. I'm excited about this player, and especially where you got him in drafts. I think this guy is really going to be a valuable piece for you this year. So great players there. What about that game by Drake Batherson the other night? Sheesh, he's starting to pop off too. That line, Giroux, Batherson, and I
Norris.
was going to say Chuck Norris, Josh Norris. Yeah, they're flying out there. Obviously, Green likes what he sees. So things offensively are good in Ottawa. If they can keep the biscuit out of the basket, I think, and Allmark back in the lineup is really going to be a net positive for this team.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, I'd love to see what unmuted Brady Kachuk could do if the muted version of him is on pace for 33 goals and 115 points. Jake Sanderson is a tougher one for me. The underlying numbers are like fine, but not terrific. He's getting almost 26 minutes a night, which is really helping. He also has a 78% IPP, which is like quite literally double what he's known for
Mm.
in his career so far. So that's the part that's given me some pause there. I'm not ready to crown Sanderson yet. Some like elite offensive defenseman in the league. He could have like kind of like that Miro Heiskanen season of a few years back, and just kind of pop off for 70 points one year and that be like a career year. That could happen, but I think it's probably more of an outlier than it is like his status quo. At least until we see a little bit more, at least until some of the underlying stats start to back that up a little bit more for me. I'm not quite there on Sanderson, maintaining some sort of 70 plus point pace or even necessarily 60 point plus. So I'm preaching a little bit of caution, I guess, on Sanderson. Maybe a sell high if somebody else in your league is a Sens fan or something like that, and they just got to have Sanderson on their squad. Stützle is a weird one. I want to believe with Stützle, but he always has such weird metrics. The combination just never makes sense for me. Like right now, he's shooting 43%. Obviously, that's not going to continue. He's barely shooting, but the pucks are going in. He's got a 20% on ice shooting percentage. Everything's just going perfectly for him to get to these numbers at the moment. And I mean, you talked about McCann being super efficient and being worried about that. You got to apply the same logic here to Tim Stützle if you're going to do that for McCann. So that's the part that I'm not 100% convinced on this yet. I think probably point per game is a little bit more reasonable of where we should expect Stützle to live rest of season, in my estimation anyway. All right, before we get into the have-nots, I'm just going to drop another quick plug for the Apples and Genos Patreon. $2 a month gets you access to patron-only live shows. $8 a month gets you access to those live shows, but also patron-only Discord channels, gets you access to the show notes, including these show notes for this podcast here, and more importantly, the waiver wire show notes, which gives you all the best players to add, the schedule breakdown, all of that. And then also it will give you access to the Apples and Genos player evaluation tools, the stuff that Blake and I use every single day to evaluate who we should be picking up, who we should be trading for, who we should be dropping. If you are a true degenerate, you can get up to the Genos tier. $15 a month gets you all questions answered, guaranteed. Blake, are you ready for some have-nots?
I'm always ready, buddy, but I'm just surprised you never talk about the full treatment on that package, right? The degenerate package. Last time I was at Nate's house, he literally fed me a cup of pudding. It was amazing. I mean, $15 a month. Damn, that's just a no-brainer. Like what do you do? You work a couple extra hours at work, overtime, you cover it, and you're eating pudding. All right. It feels good. And you got your best friend there with a beautiful goatee and mustache. Just, yeah, that's, I don't know where I'm going with this, but let's move on.
No, I think you've got that confused with another tier reserved for only Blake Creamer and ROSS COLTON. Yeah,
Right, okay.
that one's not published.
I'm very lucky. Very grateful.
All right, let's move on to the have-nots. First up here, we have to talk about Zach Hyman. What is going on with this man? Zach Hyman has 0 points in 6 games to start the season. Still skating 20 minutes a night, Blake. So what do we make of Zach Hyman?
He's pissing me off, but we can't do anything about it. And what I make of it is he's going to be fine. Like there's some bad juju going on in Edmonton right now. The power play is ridiculously bad. I can't. I just wouldn't ever think that I'd be saying that with the personnel they have on that power play. But it is what it is, right? This guy's chucking pucks. He's still doing that. Like one thing that Hyman is not doing is hitting the damn net. Please, Zach, just. I know, like, I don't know what he did in the offseason. Maybe he was depressed. Maybe he was just, licking his wounds from the Stanley Cup loss. But, buddy, it's time to get the business. You need to get out there with the shooter tutor and start putting it in the top corner. All right. I know he's good to do this. Obviously, we knew that a 54-goal season probably not in the cards again for Hyman this year, but I still like him for 70 to 80 points, even with this first little bit here. It's coming, right? Like. I really think that Edmonton is going to have some offensive explosion here at some point, and it's going to reset everybody, right? Because I think there's some bad press from the Amazon face-off thing. They're dealing with that. And obviously, yeah, they were within one game of the Stanley Cup. So that does take a while to get over. So we'll see what happens. They're not themselves right now, but I expect things to start popping off real soon. This guy is a buy low, folks. Go out and throw some offers out for Zach Hyman. Like 6 games, this is a true buy low at this point, and that window is wide open.
Yeah, Wholeheartedly agree. I mean, the Oilers at 5v5 are second only to the Hurricanes in Corsi for percentage, scoring chance for percentage. Zach Hyman himself, seventh in the league, individual scoring chances for per 60, fourth in Corsi for per 60, fifth in scoring chances for per 60. Obviously, the on ice numbers are incredible there. I have zero concerns about Zach Hyman. I consider him probably the biggest buy low in the league right now. And yeah, if you can make a deal for Zach Hyman, absolutely go and get that done. The same goes for his teammate there, Evan Bouchard, skating 24 and a half minutes a night, only has one goal in 6 games to start the season, no assists recorded. But this is a guy first in shot attempts per 60,
Yeah, this
second
is
in
nuts.
individual scoring chances for per 60, first amongst all defensemen in on ice Corsi for per 60 and scoring chances for per 60, and doing that at 24 and a half minutes a night. Yeah, Bouchard, again, probably the number two biggest buy low in the league right now. So, yeah, if anyone out there is thinking about moving off of their picks of Hyman or Bouchard, you should absolutely be knocking that door down right now to try to acquire these two. You got anything extra on Bouchard, Blake?
No, just yeah, that would be such a boon if you could get one of these guys. I think it's going to be blast off here soon. Bouchard, like I actually didn't look at the metrics there. What the hell? Yeah, like the Oilers in general, this is crazy stuff. They're dead last in the league in goals scored above expected. So that's just horrible puck luck, right? What that means is they're expected to score a hell of a lot more, and they're scoring way less than that at a level that's worst in the entire league. So, I mean, things are going to start happening here real soon, folks.
For sure. Less sure about that, though, for the two top Dallas defensemen here, Miro Heiskanen and Thomas Harley. Both of these guys skating 24, 25 minutes a night, as you would expect for these two studs. But, I mean, the on ice numbers are not compelling. 69th, nice for Miro Heiskanen in shots per 60, 50th in individual scoring chances for per 60, 43rd Corsi for per 60, 41st scoring chances for per 60. Harley is worse in everything except for shots per 60, where he's at 42nd amongst all defensemen there. 149th individual scoring chances for per 60, 94th and 84th in on ice Corsi for and scoring chances for per 60, respectively. Yeah, it's a bit of a weird spot because Dallas has
Yeah.
obviously been winning. They've been playing well. So things are going right for the team, but not right for the point scoring production of their two top defensemen here. What do you think about this here, Blake? Heiskanen literally pointless on the season, while Harley has a couple of assists, only one in the last five. What do you make of this, and are you trying to acquire either of these players?
Yeah, it's not good. The problem is I have Heiskanen in two spots, right? Because what ended up happening for me a lot this year, I had really early pick, like one or two in pretty much every draft, which seems like a win. You're like, okay, I'm getting McDavid or McKinnon, but it also kind of limited me in terms of elite defensemen that I could pick up. And I found myself staring down Heiskanen in a lot of spots here, in like the 5th round or the 6th round or something like that. And that's looking way too high for this player at this point, right? Like someone who probably should have fallen a little bit further, but he's got a 73-point season in the bag. I mean, I feel like, yeah, clearly that's the outlier. He popped off on the power play that year. 54 points last year. I think that's probably where he lives this year, but this is a poor start. And I hate that. I mean, for fantasy, I like it for Dallas, but I hate that they're doing so well because he doesn't need to do anything, right? Dallas, their top 9 forward group is the best in the league. No question to me. And they're getting the job done. They don't need offense from the back end right now. They're not running the offense that way. So Harley, Heiskanen, these guys are just facilitating to the forwards and they're getting to biz and zone. But that said, like, yeah, like I said, I still think 50 points minimum, like floor for Heiskanen. That should be where he lived. He's going to start going on the power play at least. He's getting the full power play treatment. And then for Harley, I do like that that Harley is shooting, right? He's shooting pretty well for a defenseman. Obviously, I think he can do that a little bit more. But yeah, I expect more goals out of Harley, and we just haven't seen it yet. But I don't know. Yeah, you could definitely throw out some buy low offers for Heiskanen. Like I'm not getting rid of him because that would be a sell low, and you don't want to do that. But yeah, I'd be looking to acquire Heiskanen as like a 3rd or 4th defenseman. That would be pretty damn nice, and I don't think you'd have to give up too much to get him.
Yep. Yeah, I think you can. I've just never been high on Heiskanen, especially in leagues that prioritize the hits, the shots, things like that, category leagues or leagues with heavy weights for those things. Yeah, he just doesn't really do those two things all that much. So he's never been that valuable in those type of leagues. So yeah, I've just not really ended up with Heiskanen on any of my teams pretty much ever. I honestly don't know if I've ever rostered Heiskanen in a redraft league. So yeah, just a player that kind of flies under the radar for me season in, season out. And so it's kind of been a situation where I've never had to care all that much about what Heiskanen is or isn't doing. Either way, I think the most interesting part is if Harley could ever unseat Heiskanen for the top power play, which I don't think it's likely, right? Heiskanen is clearly the cornerstone defenseman there. He's been there longer. He's got the tenor. But there is a scenario, at least in my mind, where Harley is the better thing for the top power play unit, and they realize it at some point and they go with it. And so, for that reason, I'm a little bit more interested in Harley. If you can make it work with what he's given you right now, obviously with a little bit more point production that we'd expect to come along with these underlying numbers here, if you can make it work as your fourth defenseman, then I wouldn't mind a little buy low on Thomas Harley. You might be able to honestly like send a good streamer somebody's way and pick up Thomas Harley at this point, or maybe he's even going to
Hey, he
get
might be
dropped
on the
in some
wire.
leagues.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just keep that in your mind. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I am interested in having some of these players on your team who have that potential to really pop off in the right spot. Player that we thought maybe had some potential to pop off in the right spot, but has not been given that spot is Noah Hannafin. He has 0 points in his last 5 games here, skating under 20 minutes a night in those 5 games, 97 shots per 60, and that's the best number that I'm looking at here right now. What do we think of Noah Hannafin? Obviously, there was talk that he was going to be on top power play directly from the coach, that he was going to be on top power play, and it's been all Shea Theodore so far. And Theodore, predictably, is absolutely crushing it in that role. Doesn't look like he's going to give it up anytime soon. So, where does that leave Hannafin for you, Blake?
It stinks for sure, because I mean, we're only as good as the information we're given. And, we did see, like, there was proof of concept as well with Noah Hannafin. He played power play 1 in the playoffs. Then the coach comes out and says they're going to put him there. They signed him to a new contract. Theodore's in a contract year. We've heard it all before. But yeah, I mean, Theodore is the obvious choice to run that top power play, and it never really made a lot of sense. And yeah, it's coming to fruition here. They're obviously, performance based. Theodore's popping off. So it stinks for Hannafin. Like, this guy could be trending towards a drop, depending on where you pick them up. Like, this isn't good enough for fantasy. 1 assist, like 5 hits, 12 blocks in 6 games. That's not really doing it. 19% power play share. That's shocking. That's just a crazy troll job by Coach Bruce Cassidy. Like, does he just hate fantasy managers? Does he hate fantasy hockey? I mean, we need to get to the bottom of this here. I think, I'm going to write a strongly worded email to I don't know where I'm going with this. God, I'm rambling on, Nate. Jeez. All right. It's that good podcaster, bad podcaster thing again. You're supposed to jump in there and save me, but that's fine. Needless to say, Noah Hannafin, I'm glad I didn't draft him anywhere, but yeah, if you got him, it's kind of, he's either a drop or he's you hold him through this and see what happens. Like, he's still a good defenseman, but I don't think the offense is going to be there like we thought.
Yep. I tend to agree. Again, Hannafin is not someone who's ever really popped in anything for me under the hood. Even when I was starting to give him a little bit more credence as a top power play threat for the full season, the numbers were never such that like I was targeting him, or I had him like above ADP or something like that. So Hannafin was never really going to be on my radar a whole lot. And so far, it does seem like, I mean, he should obviously have more points than 0 points in his last 5, 1 in his 6 total games so far. That's not going to stay there, but realistically, I don't know if the ceiling outside of power play 1 is much higher than 40, 45 points. And at that point, like, what are you really getting out of the player? You could go get Thomas Harley probably and be just as satisfied with maybe even more potential for top power play at this point. Who knows? So lots to think through there. I'm not giving up on the player necessarily, but I've seen him dropped in some leagues, and it's pretty hard to fault anybody at this point with the lack of production, the underlying stats not looking terrific, and yeah, just not a great start to the season for Noah Hannafin. Let's move over to Nashville. Steven Stamkos has just 1 goal through his first 5 games there in Nashville. Skating over 19 and a half minutes a night, which is nice to see for sure. It seems like the Preds want to get the most out of their investment in Steven Stamkos. What are you seeing with Stamkos here, and do you think this is a buy low?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a buy low. I think it's a huge buy low, actually, because I like the role he's been given and I like what I see under the hood. He's shooting the lights out. He's just not scoring. Nashville in general, generating a decent amount of chances and or at least shot attempts. That's something that Nashville's doing really well is, chucking pucks, right? You got Philip Forsberg and they're doing the same thing, but they don't always end up in quality scoring chances, right? So they're going to have to make some adjustments here. Plus, Andrew Burnett, the coach there, is throwing the lines in a blender, which is never a good thing, right? We want to see something consistent. I hear a lot out of Nashville like they need a 2C, right? Tommy Novak, that's not working. So, they put him down. They had Colton Sissons up there. Now they've split up Marchessault and Stamkos on those lines. So they've got them with different centers. It's a settling. We have to, it's a new team with so many new players. Andrew Burnett is a really good coach. I feel like they're going to get it going here. Their top line is still intact, and that's a really good line, which we know. So, yeah, I mean, Nashville doesn't have a point yet. They're the only pointless team in the league. That stinks. That is a surprise, actually. It's not something that at the beginning of the year, if you told me that, I'd be like, yep, that makes sense. No, makes no sense. So definitely buy low on Stammer. He's got lots to offer, and his role looks pretty secure there in Nashville, but they got to start, converting on some of these chances.
Yeah, I'm still pretty in on Nashville in general. I'm actually kind of curious. I wonder what the line is to get Nashville into the playoffs. I think that'd be pretty interesting, to be honest with you. I might take that. I'm just trying to check it out on DraftKings right now.
Just know your limit,
Nashville
Nate, and play within it. Okay. For God's sake.
Nashville is yes minus 120, no minus 110. So pretty much even odds still to make the playoffs despite the putrid start here. Overall, when it comes to Stamkos, I'm actually pretty in. I was really low on Stamkos. I didn't think that things would go this well under the hood immediately. He's second in the league in Corsi 4 per 67, scoring chances 4 per 60, 13th shots per 60. Like, the man is playing possessed at the moment, better than he's played in any of the last 3 years in Tampa Bay over the course of a full season. Maybe it's just, new legs on a new team and it'll cool down a little bit from here. But either way, it's a really good sign under the hood for Stamkos. The pucks just haven't been going in. They will. I'm not too worried about that. It honestly seems like they've already kind of figured out the power play a little bit, where that was a bit of a concern as to how Forsberg and Stamkos might coexist on the power play. I'm less worried about that already than I was before the season started. So overall, I'm actually finding myself a little bit in on Steven Stamkos, and I would consider him a buy low at this moment. I want to talk about Pavel Zacha here. This is a player that I thought would kind of provide sneaky value this year. Has just one assist in his last 5 games, still skating 19 minutes a night. He's never had great underlying stats, 138 shots per 60, 124th individual scoring chances 4 per 60. On ice numbers are worse, 296th in Corsi 4 per 60, and 196th in scoring chances 4 per 60. Obviously, the attraction with Zacha is that he's been pretty much stapled to David Pastrnak for the last couple of years, and that has continued. And he's still on the top line there, still on the top power play there. Pucks are just not going in. And so at what point do you say, this is a guy that I'm really kind of counting on just for his exposure to other players? It's not really a player that I'm sold on the talent of him individually. And what kind of value does that have for you moving forward, even in a deeper league?
Not a lot, to be honest. I try really hard to not rely on guys that are reliant on other players for their offense. I want the offense drivers. I want the play drivers, right? The guys generating the offense, whereas Zacha is a supplementary piece, and albeit a good one. This guy got 59 points last year. Pretty damn nice. But, it's not surprising to see that Zacha has 2 points in 6 games because Pasta only has 5 points in 6 games, right? He's got off to a slow start, and his metrics show that as well. Like he's not doing Pasta things, right? He's still shooting, but not at the level that he's known for, right? So I think it'll be fine. We could still see him around, what he did last year. I think that's probably where he lands, but it's been a slow start. And I think this is a guy that, you could probably drop if you needed to, and you wouldn't feel that bad about it, especially the way he's playing right now. But yeah, I'm sure he'll go through segments of the season where he's popping off when Pasta's cooking as well. But it's not happening right now, is it?
No, definitely not. And I tend to agree. This is a guy that you want when he's hot, but you can feel okay letting him go, especially in a little bit shallower leagues when things are not going his way. That being said, it is a player that I'd continue to watch because when things are going right, when Pasternak is scoring 3 points a game, Zach is going to get in on some of that, and you do want a piece there. Last on the list here, Owen Tippett. He's got 1 assist in his last 5 games. That's it. 18 minutes a night. So he's actually been getting decent deployment there as far as John Tortorella's standards go. Second in the league in shot attempts for 60. He had a game there the other night where he had 16 shot attempts and only 4 of them hit the net. So this is definitely a guy prone to chucking it and not as prone to hitting the net and even less prone to actually putting it into the net. But the sheer volume of chances that this guy directs towards the net on any given night put him in the conversation for fantasy routinely. What's your take on Tippett at this point? Are you adjusting your preseason take on Tippett at all?
I don't think so because I think both you and I baked in the potential that he wouldn't get the first line treatment that we hope that he gets with Torts,
Yeah.
and yeah, I mean he's getting a better treatment, but he's scoring less, so it all works out in the wash, doesn't it, Nate? But yeah, I do like his line. It's him, Morgan Frost, and Matvey Michkov. That's a nice line there, but the shine's worn off Michkov a little bit. He's been a little bit slow as of late. I only had 15 minutes in the last game there, which is his lowest time on ice of the year. Probably an outlier. Like, this is a very talented guy, but yeah, it's they're just kind of settling in. This is a team 6 games in. We got to see what we have here. I love the talent level with Owen Tippett, but yeah, just chucking pucks with the best of them. He does that. We need to see more, right? And when you look at his line here, I'm just on Frozen Tools here. The Corsi for percentage for that line: Owen Tippett, Morgan Frost, Matvey Michkov, 35% on the season at even strength. That they're getting caved in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how much longer you can roll with that, right? Every time they're out there, they're spending time in their zone and giving up shot attempts. So it's not a great place to be. I still think Owen Tippett should absolutely be rostered. I saw him dropped in one of my leagues. Owen Tippett, they dropped him going into this week where they actually have a good schedule. So I don't know what the hell was happening there. I got a waiver claim in. I mean, this guy's a buy low, but I think, yeah, we have to temper expectations. This might not ever be a guy that gets to 70 points. Could be 60 points, Owen Tippett, and that's where the ceiling is. I don't know. Where are your thoughts there, Nate?
Yeah, I think I kind of had him there to begin with. I had him for 57 points. I will say that was at 17 minutes average time on ice. So if he maintains 18 all year long, then maybe I could see him cresting 60. But again, I'm always leery of whoever Torts' top guys are right now. I always expect that they're not going to be his top guys come
Yeah.
next week,
Yeah.
and so yeah, I do still feel like this is probably towards the top end of what might be his potential range of outcomes for time on ice on the season. And that being said, like, he's obviously a guy who's going to shoot a ton. He's going to hit a ton. If that's valuable in your leagues, in your Bangers Cats leagues, Owen Tippett obviously going to be quite valuable. I just wouldn't rely on him as a point producer, as one of my primary point producers. And this is just a little bit more evidence to support that fact. Even when he's shooting a lot, sometimes he just runs dry because he's not one of these guys who truly does, pick the corners and score at a 16% rate or something like that. All right, we need to move along here and get under the hood with the Buffalo Sabres for this week. I know there's been a lot of talk, a lot of terror in Buffalo that I've been hearing about. A lot of people worrying that Lindy Ruff was not the right person for this job, wondering what Jason Zucker is doing on the top power play unit. A lot of hand wringing already in Buffalo. I mean, they've been doing that for a while now, but I just want to highlight a few things here. So this is one of 2 teams that has 0 power play goals so far. The other team is Anaheim, and they're getting shut out by the Kings right now. So that's clearly continuing here tonight for them. They're 27th in penalty kill percentage. So basically, special teams is absolutely ruining the Sabres right now. I'm not saying that that's something that's not predictable or like that's obviously going to positively regress for them. They have to put in the work to get better there. But that being said, it does seem like an area that they might be able to improve at. And the thing that gives me some more pause here is the goaltending, right? Bottom third in the league in terms of save percentage on the season. Neither UPL or Devin Levi have given them really any strong outings that you could really hang your hat on and say, this is going to be our guy. This is the way that we win games moving forward. And that obviously has a trickle down effect on the rest of the team. You start playing tight, you start thinking, up, we can't give up a chance here. And it just, has cascading effects on how you play the game in general. That being said, 5v5, the Buffalo Sabres are fifth in Corsi for percentage and fourth in scoring chance for percentage. So, quite honestly, I don't think it's Ruff. Like, Ruff is the guy who brings in the 5v5 systems here. Would I prefer that he could also figure out the power play and the penalty kill? Yeah. But that's not necessarily all on him either. The players got to figure this one out a little bit as well. And it is pretty encouraging to me that the 5v5 stats look this good. And so, to me, where this leaves me personally is that I think Rasmus Dahlin, Dylan Cousins, to a lesser extent, even Tage Thompson are all buy lows to me at the moment. Thompson obviously has the best results so far. He's got 6 points and 4 goals in the 7 games so far. But Rasmus Dahlin just has 2 assists in 7 games. You have to wonder, he was coming back from injury right at the start of the season. You got to wonder if that's kind of lingering perhaps into the season. Dahlin, another guy that I'd consider a screaming buy low. Cousins, I've talked about how the underlying stats have been quite good, and I've been interested in acquiring him. I've heard of him getting dropped in a lot of leagues and being out there to pick up, even in deeper leagues like some people's Cacuffle leagues, 14-team leagues, he's getting dropped. So I do think that Dylan Cousins is probably out there for some people, and that should be something that you want to go check on. How do you feel about the Buffalo Sabres right now, Blake? And do you have any pushback on my, I would call it some low-key ebullience on the Sabres at the moment?
Yeah, no, I love it. I love the spotlight. This team is basically the team equivalent of Zach Hyman. All right, guys, please just put the puck on the net. I mean, I love these Corsi 4 numbers. These are great, but I'm just digging in here on some metrics that JFresh put out on Twitter today, like percentage of 5v5 shot attempts missing the net. Buffalo is dead last in that. So yeah, like their Corsi 4 is 5th. They're missing the net more than any other team in the league. That's terrible. All right. And they're 9th worst in percentage of 5-on-5 shot attempts blocked. So there's some things to get sorted out there. And then you throw the special teams on there. And I agree with you. Like, I love seeing these shot attempt numbers at 5-on-5, because that means like it's some adjustments, some minor adjustments. And now those shots are getting on net, right? Now we're creating rebounds. Now we're creating offense. And I do think that special teams is something, you can get better at throughout the season, especially with the personnel they have there in Buffalo. So I'm in on the team. I love the Sabres here. And I think, those numbers are going to get better. That power play is going to get cooking here at some point as well. And hopefully the PK, 27th in the league, that's not going to cut it, boys. You got to do better than that. So, but I love the spotlight here. Lots of value on this team.
For sure. Let's move over to move of the week. Blake, why don't you take us in fighting back after taking a punch early in a matchup?
Oh, yeah. You bet, sweet bippy, buddy. That's what we do. It's not how many times you get knocked down. It's how long you stay down or pretend that you're really hurt, and then the person leaves, and then you get up and you're the victor, right? Oh, God. No, that's not right. Anyways, I'm in a couple category leagues here, which are my weakness, which are my Achilles heel. And I've been working really hard to try and, get some dubs here. Had some moves saved up in both my category leagues that I'm in, and I had Kemper in both those spots. So my goalie categories got shredded with that 8-7 game. Like, he was in for all 8 goals. Damn. Like, just Mr. Hiller, please, just mercy. Can you help us out? Doesn't care about my fantasy team. That's fine. Definitely got destroyed early, but in one of the leagues, I used 2 ads on Saturday to pick up Hofer and Alex Lyon. Like, kind of, it was a bit of a Hail Mary. Calculated, they were available there. So I'm like, I thought I could get that. And obviously that worked out. I got great performances from both players. I was able to take a couple categories there. And in that particular league, I'm still going to lose my matchup, but instead of being, 3-8, now I'm 5-6, right? Which I think is really important in those situations, because if you're in a league where every category counts as a point, right? Like, 5-6 is so much better than 3-8, right? Like every little category counts instead of like a 1-0, right? So I'm always going to fight for those categories. I think that's a really important thing with those leagues. And then in the other league, I picked up Eric Comrie today, and buddy, oh, it was amazing. Yeah. Got a pretty easy assignment there against Pittsburgh, but took the dub there. And that actually swung the score in that matchup. So now I'm winning 6-3, and I was down on my goalie Cats. So I first off, like, this is something that's not really something that I do very well or haven't historically, is save my moves, right? Save my ads, and then you smash them at the end. And I was able to do that in both spots for a net positive. So I'm happy about that.
Yep. Yeah, I definitely do think it matters to scrap for all those categories in your category leagues like that, unless it's the category system where it's just one win and either
Yep.
you win or
Yep.
lose based on how many categories you won throughout the week. If it's the normal category setup where, yeah, you can be 6-5 or something like that, then scrapping for each one of those categories, turning losses into wins, even if it's only one category over the course of the season, that really does add up. And that can be the difference when all is said and done. You talked about saving ads till the end of the week. I'm going to talk about when to use all your ads early.
All right.
Uh, in my league, and I'll preface this by saying it didn't work out. I'm going to lose the matchup here in Kickuffle. I'm actually going to go to 0-2 in Kickuffle. I got beat in a nail biter at the end last week, down to like less than a point, I think it was at the end, something like that. It was real close. This week, my opponent, had Anton Lundell and some other guys who absolutely went off, and there was a chance for me to take it. And I was looking ahead at what I wanted to do with my last ad. I had a single ad left on Friday, and I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. And I was looking ahead at, I was prepping for the waiver wire show and thinking to myself about how terrible next week is
Yep.
for the schedule and how useless really ads are going to be in terms of affecting that outcome. And so I decided in that case to make a move on the Friday and to get a couple games from a streamer for that league, and to really just add to my potential to maybe come back in that league. It didn't work out. I'm not going to win that matchup, but I still think that was the right move in that particular case where I'm looking ahead. I'm considering what is the most effective use of this ad, not only for this week where I'm behind and it would actually have to be a pretty big comeback for me to come back and win, but looking ahead at next week, how much effect do I really think that single ad is going to have on the outcome of that week? If I don't think it's that much, then I do think it's actually probably better to use it right now and to try whatever I can to make it count in this week here. So, just another thought on when to potentially go all in and use that last move a little bit earlier than I'd typically like to. All right. Lastly, here, we need to recap the head to head streamer deathmatch. Blake, this one's not done yet, so we can't
God.
actually conclusively call it. So what I have on the screen here, if you're watching on YouTube, was before the currently ongoing Colorado versus San Jose game. Casey Middlestat had 19 couple points. Granlund had 17.5. I'm gonna update this live. Granlund right now in the game, according to Yahoo, has 4.25 points. That'll bring him up to, I'm going to do math live on the podcast. That's terrible. 21.75 points is Granlund's total as of this exact moment, with about half of the third period left. Whereas we have Middlestat with just 1 point. So he's at exactly 20 points. So right now, Granlund is ahead by a point. Uh, yeah, if Casey Middlestat, a couple of shots would get him back up there. Probably an assist. It would have to be like the lowest thing he could do that would cement it. Definitely possible. It could be, there's another goal. I didn't see who scored this goal. Do you have it?
Kiviranta. Yeah, Kiviranta.
Okay.
Yeah, no, they're not in. He's not in on it.
All right. It is going right down to the wire here, but either way, Blake, like I'm pretty pleased with us. This was a great streaming week. We're down below 25% rostered players and we pulled out these two. I feel pretty good about what we were able to do with this. Obviously, I still want to win and I expect to win, but I'll say that it has been a good week for the head-to-head streamer deathmatch overall.
Look at us, huh, Nate? Look at us. Just getting to biz with the 25% roster and under. Oh, yeah. Feels good. These things that we tell you, folks, they won't be wrong.
They might be misleading, but they won't be wrong.
All right. Yeah, that's fine. Might take a couple years too with Ross Colton, right?
Yeah, just might take a couple years. That's all. What's the saying? Never wrong, just early. I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
the.
that
I
makes
think
total
that's it.
sense. Yeah, that's on our business card.
All right. Well, that's going to be all that we've got for this episode. Hopefully, it brought you some value, helped you get a little bit better at fantasy hockey today. All the advanced stats you heard today came from Natural Stat Trick, which I don't know if you've heard, but it's a terrific free resource.
I had
Many
heard of that.
thanks to the band. They're there for supplying music for the podcast. Be sure to check out their Spotify as well. That's it, folks. Much love.